Coming up on today's Wrestling News, the recent booking change that made WWE superstars cry.
CM Punk and Randy Orton getting called down to NXT.
Tony Khan drops a major hint on AEW's new TV deal.
And Nigel McGuinness has dozens more matches in him.
I'm Michael Hamflett.
And I'm Phil Chambers.
And this is the news.
Hey.
And we start with the one of the biggest stories coming out of SummerSlam weekend, and there was a ton of them, was of course the dissolution of the Judgment Day. Or so we thought anyway. The Judgment Day are now the worst version of the group. Judgment Day 2.0, just a gang of absolute rats on Raw, with Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley kind of cast as Rock and Steve Austin level baby faces in their wake. Already it feels like a success story, this latest stable civil war to match the bloodline one going on SmackDown. But understandably, this has caused quite an emotional response amongst the original crop of the Judgment Day, who have been, well, again, one of Triple H's big success stories over the last couple of years. This was revealed by sort of renowned wrestling journalist cum media personality David Shoemaker on his Ringer podcast, who stated, I guess through one of his sources, that there was legitimate crying backstage from some within the Judgment Day that they were breaking up. So presumably they were given the news maybe SummerSlam or just before SummerSlam that it wasn't just going to be the Liv Morgan Dominic Mysterio reveal, but also the Finn Balor Damian Priest one on the same night, to give us this divide that we had on Raw. I think this is really quite sweet and nice to hear about. You know, the obvious chemistry that the Judgment Day had pretty much from Clash at the Castle onwards, when Dominic Mysterio lost his shoe up Edge's arse, and everything that followed afterwards, and all the wrestlers they managed to get over as Raw's preeminent heels over a 2-year run. I'd be pretty emotional I'd be excited about what was to come next, but hell of a run.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if they'd watched TV, they probably should have seen it coming.
Well, indeed,
but
R-Truth got them a TV, so they really should have been paying attention.
But no, it was a really great one and a hell of a moment on Raw. Like Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley that have come in together and then hugging and joining forces. It's like, oh my God, they're going to kick everybody's ass. It's going to be great. And now, like whatever Finn Balor does with this sort of new crop, I'm kind of fascinated by as well.
Can't believe his look.
Exactly, I'm still in it. This is great. I'm really excited to see what comes next with the Judgment Day. And it's nice that, like, often, like in wrestling, people just kind of get shoved together. But it's nice that they got shoved together, but then it also worked out and they like developed really good friendships and they obviously really care about it.
It's like we were there, very fortunate to be there in Dallas at WrestleMania 38 when Edge introduced his giant chair and Damian Priest appeared alongside him for the first time, and you would just have never believed that we'd be here in 2024 talking about the journey this group has been on. Like,
as one of the hottest things in WWE.
I don't even think Edge would have imagined it would have ended like this, and he would have put his back into making all of it work. But they weren't the only superstars getting tearful. I felt quite emotional too watching this group I've fallen in love with disband, but then, it's like, what is it, addition by subtraction? It feels like this warring faction thing they've got is going to be just as hot as their best days as a group. Yeah,
absolutely. And they've built two massive babyface stars with Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley, especially the reaction she got on Raw when she came running out. Holy balls.
That was unreal.
It's good stuff. But speaking of big babyfaces doing things, WWE are making some changes to NXT because it's moving over to the CW network from USA. Now, it's been on USA for 5 years, and interestingly, it's going to end up being the only WWE show on... No, there's going to be no WWE shows on broadcast TV. Or this is the only WWE show on broadcast TV?
After the existing deal, like SmackDown's moving to USA.
Yeah, SmackDown's moving to USA, so that's going on to cable. And Raw is moving on to Netflix, so that's going on to Netflix. And so it's only NXT left on the CW.
The last one standing.
Mad. You'd never pick that this way around.
Again, just a wild turn of events considering where we were at a few years ago.
Yeah, but they announced that they signed a deal with the CW for it to stay there for 5 years. So it's going there to stay for 5 years. And they're planning some big shows to kick this off on the CW network. So the first one is on October 1st. And it's going to be in the Allstate Arena in Chicago, and obviously, whose hometown is Chicago? It's CM Punk, so he is going to be on that one. And then the week after, they're going to St. Louis, Missouri. And guess whose hometown is St. Louis? Randy Orton. So they're having some big stars and some big hometown pops for this sort of new era of NXT on the CW. But it looks like they're putting some effort behind this.
Yeah, they're coming in hot, aren't they? It's obviously long term. You would assume that in the short, well, let's say long term, in the short term at least, NXT will probably, other than these big shows, remain in its usual performance centre spot.
Yeah.
But long term, could they be looking at these as tasters for what more they could do in the future? We've seen NXT's return to arenas with the likes of Standard Liver, and over the WrestleMania weekends over the last few years, they're increasingly moving the PLEs into their own arenas rather than just taking place as TV specials. They're kind of doing both, I guess, because you've got the Great American Bash week 1 and 2 that's just taking place. But NXT is experimenting more with its current roster, going back into bigger buildings, and it's an awesome opportunity for the NXT wrestlers because they typically would be in that small crowd on a Wednesday night, and you can see the looks on the talents' faces getting to work in front of these crowds and realising just how over they've gotten from that Florida bubble. But it can't go without mention, of course. I believe it's the one on October the 8th. Maybe it is the one on the 1st, but I think it's the one on October the 8th. We'll go head-to-head with AEW and what's now become this weird traditional Tuesday night war.
Yeah.
Where even if it was in Florida, WWE kind of cynically stack the deck ridiculously in their own territory. Do you know what's going to NXT? It's Cody Rhodes and The Undertaker. Can you believe it?
Crazy.
Now they're going to be in massive venues. For the Punk one, they're going to want to, sell it out maybe?
Yes.
The Allstate Arena, maybe wrestling's hottest building, and they're going to have their CW debut in it with that venue's realistic biggest star. They couldn't be more trying to roll out the red carpet for the network and welcome as many viewers possible into the world of NXT for when they return to normality.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you say, it's only a good thing for the actual wrestlers on NXT because you can never forget, it is on TV and stuff, but it is a developmental brand. These guys are learning the ropes and how to do this, and the best way of learning is to go in front of different crowds every single week and figure out how to get over with different people. It's one thing getting over in front of the NXT Performance Center crowd, but they are hardcores. They're going to be buying into anything.
They're going to give you a chance.
And obviously they sort of watch you week to week and watch you grow, but going out into completely new audiences that you haven't been sort of tried and tested in front of is a much different thing, and that's kind of the one thing that sort of NXT in the Performance Center has missed in terms of developing that kind of talent.
Steve Austin to this day calls the Allstate, the Rosemont Horizon that he would call it, but he calls the Allstate the loudest and best building he could ever hope to work in. And now these people that maybe have only had the Performance Centre are getting that place to potentially ply their trade. It's exciting. Imagine if the table level up in that building after NXT's gone off the air, something like that. It's exciting. It's but I'm going to be so curious as to what kind of crowd they're able to draw. Obviously Raw and SmackDown with Punk especially has done
not a small building.
has done unreal business, but it is not a small venue. So I guess we will see. And we'll be there too, obviously, won't we, Phil? We'll be sorting out the flights.
100%, absolutely, but you know where we will be? All In.
No way!
Speaking of hot buildings, but you know where we're also going to be?
Where?
Right next to All In, with What Culture Live at Wembley-ish.
Surely not at the Crystal Club.
At the Crystal Club. It's 2 minutes walk away from All In.
I keep forgetting this
where
information.
You can get tickets, whatculture.com/tickets. We have sold over 300 now, which is insane. Thank you so much to everyone that has bought a ticket, but it's a big room and there's still some left.
Still seats.
So if you want to get on buying a ticket, do it now. If you want merch, do it right now because that is going to go before Friday. So I think Friday, maybe even Thursday. No, Thursday will be the last day because I have to order them on Friday. So if you want merch with your ticket, get it right now because that is ending on Thursday.
It's event exclusive stuff, right? The one that you can get online is only available with a ticket.
The t-shirt that you get with the tickets will not be available on the day.
All the stuff will be available to buy on the day, but if you want your exclusive t-shirts with our faces on. We've kicked open the Forbidden Door. We've let Stax have his own t-shirt, speaking of NXT guys. So and then going to be a fabulous day. We're going to do that. It's going to be 12 till 1:30, followed by an extended meet and greet. The short walk, we got a group straight over to Wembley. I can't do it justice like Wilborn does, but you know what else I can't do justice like Wilborn does? Getting on a stage with Prince Nana, with Max Caster, and just putting on one of the best post-pro wrestling nights you could hope for. Sweet Chin Disco, a wrestling-themed club night back at the Crystal Club. Tickets available through Sweet Chin Disco socials and website. It's going to be a fantastic event. They're even closer to selling out than we are, so get in there fast if you want to. Again,
100%. If you want tickets to the after party, get them now because they are not going to last, especially if some other things might get announced.
Indeed, There's going to be no better place for sort of all your post-all-in drinks. Don't join the massive tube queue or the huge Uber queues.
Losers, don't do that.
We'll be there. We'll be hanging around. We'll be having a couple of pints, maybe a couple more. And it's going to be a fantastic entire day in and around the Wembley area, isn't it? We can't wait to see as many of you there as possible.
Links for both in the pinned comment below.
Do you know who else is going to be at our live show? Happy to confirm it right now. Tony Khan.
Oh my God.
Card subject to change. If he's not too busy with last minute planning for All In. But in the meantime, he's been doing some planning for AEW's new television deal. Look, it's been a story that has ran all year. What with this being AEW's renewal year and the way to see, especially I guess in light of WWE announcing the Netflix deal, just what does the deal look like? We've always assumed that AEW is going to get the money it deserves, quite frankly, that it hasn't had for the last few years of Dynamite. They've been severely underpaid for what they've offered to WBD as a network through their shows, not just with Dynamite but also with Collision and everything else. And it increasingly appears like that news is forthcoming. Tony Khan tweeted just last night, "Thank you, Mr. David Zaslav and at WBD for having me in Paris for the trip of a lifetime." He's been pictured at the Olympics, obviously, with David Zaslav, the head of WBD. "It's an exciting time. The future's very bright for AEW. Tomorrow on TBS. Don't miss Wednesday Night Dynamite. We've had an epic run of Wednesdays in July, and we'll start off August hot tomorrow." This could be, I guess, Tony Khan hasn't done his huge announcement coming from Tony Khan, or there's no promotion that we're going to get news on Dynamite, but it feels increasingly likely that the news is going to drop sooner rather than later. You know, this is WWE have had all the sort of press and all the attention around SummerSlam weekend, but this is a nice sweet spot for AEW to claim some of that back on the road to Wembley. Wembley itself, I guess the potential of them, if they were to announce All In for a third year at Wembley in line with this TV deal. Ring of Honor recently, there's been a lot of AEW presents Ring of Honor. You wonder if that co-branding is strategic.
Yeah.
Feels like something big is coming and it's going to be a big money figure. Where Dynamite sits in the week, could they be part of the HBO Max streaming service? It's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been kind of trickles of news coming out about this, about AEW appearing on HBO Max internationally, and things like that.
Old episodes getting uploaded to the back end or something. Yeah,
and then the Ring of Honor stuff with the changing to AEW's Ring of Honor is very much more of a TV guide move rather than anything else, isn't it? Having that name there going, ooh, what's this? More of a recognisable thing than Ring of Honor
Ring
itself.
of what? Nothing. AEW. It's AEW.
It's AEW. But they've obviously got a lot of TV properties right now. They've got Dynamite, Collision, Rampage, and potentially Ring of Honor, I guess. So it's going to be interesting to see where it all ends up. But I think the biggest thing for fans is not necessarily where it ends up on TV, because you'll just be able to watch it wherever it ends up on TV, but where it ends up on streaming, because that's the thing that AEW's been missing for a while now, and they are developing quite the back catalogue that would be great to actually have available.
It would have been so hard to launch AEW with something even close to a WWE network, considering that what they would have had being the Elite maybe, and whatever the footage the rest of themselves had ownership of.
People kind of assume maybe they would have used Ring of Honor as Honor Club thing as a platform and just grown that, but that didn't obviously pan out.
But you could launch it now, of course, with years of Dynamites, Rampages, Collisions, years of pay-per-views that you could rewatch, and then it really gets
Road
fans.
2 stuff, there's loads of stuff.
They've created so much, and the YouTube channel is still full of stuff that you can go right the way back to 2019. But the pay-per-views and things like that is not quite obvious. And why would they be? WWE's got this 40-year head start on them in that regard. But it's exciting to think of the possibility of, again, being able to just have that one AEW button and see this vast archive of being able to relive so much of the stuff they've done over 5 years. And it's probably, based on Dynamite at least, going to make them a ton of money, and not a moment too soon.
Absolutely. But speaking of AEW still, Nigel McGuinness has been talking to, who's he been talking to? The Takedown on Sports Illustrated. Now, he last wrestled in 2011. It's been a long time. But he keeps on talking about a potential return to the ring, and it's been going on for quite a while now. And he talks more about that on this. So he obviously talks about doing commentary on AEW quite a lot within this, but it's the bit right at the end of the interview that's the most interesting part of it. He says that he has dozens more matches in him. It's just at this juncture in my life with so much talent in AEW, it's not my time. And he goes on to say, I wonder which match he's angling for. He goes on to say, unless there's a chance to prove I'm better than Bryan Danielson and prove everything in his life was luck to the millions watching Ring of Honor back then. Sorry, to the millions and millions. Millions watching Ring of Honor back then. That would be a chance for them to learn the truth.
I mean, fair play to him. The image sticks with me of him in his gear this time last year in the hotel ring, just to make a point of, I was ready, it wasn't meant to be, and we can still speculate, what was he ready for? Like, Bryan Danielson was injured for All In last year, were they just going to do it? There was less stakes around the Danielson match, because it's not like he'd put his career on the line like he has for this year's show. So that, I think, has hung in the ether as a result ever since. Again, it's one for the Ring of Honor purists that would love to get the opportunity to see that again. But for those that saw the brilliant Laston McGuiness documentary at the time, of course, he's there documenting how he he revealed to WWE the extent of his injuries, and Danielson didn't. Danielson would go on to win the world title, and obviously things worked out very differently for Nigel McGuinness. But it's funny how things come back around in wrestling, isn't it? Dozens. That is not a man saying he wants one last chance to put the gear on.
This isn't a retirement match.
This is him sort of calling his shot about getting a run, isn't it? I just really want, at one point during the All In main event, McGuinness to be on commentary, to be able to pull the leg of the referee out on a 2, or pull Danielson out, something like that. You know, he's like, he cannot sanction the idea of Danielson winning. He wants to see him retire once and for all. Just
Get rid of him.
Just that one little moment that leaves it hanging for them two to have a match. Because even if Danielson loses, he said nothing's ever forever in wrestling, and if he wins, then he could take that belt on a retirement tour. McGuinness might want a bit of that. It's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anyone's gonna do it, it's AEW. They've long since sort of run back on the history of Ring of Honor to sort of redo stuff in a modern age with in AEW, like Samoa Joe Punk springs to mind. But they are definitely one to use the tradition of wrestling and what has happened in the past and sort of reignite it through the modern era. And so if they were going to do it, it'd be, Nigel McGuinness definitely sounds like he's ready. He is aching for it.
He's worked for it, hasn't he? He's in basically every commentary gig he's had in AEW. He's worked for it. You have to respect the hustle on that one, don't you?
Absolutely,
if you're Tony Khan, going back through those archives, you could probably spend hours and hours and hours. You watch one show, and then you click and you watch another one, and then you click and you watch another one. And in many ways, I guess, how would you be able to experience that if you were on the platform that they're watching us on, Phil?
How could they? They could just click this video here and continue on your YouTube journey.